Welcome back to the Ref Show with Chris Sutton this week, joining Keith Hackett. Just to conclude the Premier League, one or two other matches to get through. Roger East to talk about in Stoke Bournemouth, which you've addressed in your Daily Telegraph column this week, Keith. Southampton 0, Liverpool 0. First of all, as ever, imperious control, it would seem, from Mark Clattenburg. Just one incident for the experts that dissect. Firmino of Liverpool appeared to be tugged just outside the area, running in, nothing given. Keith, your verdict?
I think that Mark has been let down on a couple of occasions recently by his assistant referees, because I think that Mark had no chance of seeing that because the body of the player is covering. So he's not going to give it because he's not seen it, which is correct. However, an assistant referee looking in might just have got the view. Now, it was a clear holding offence. It should have been a free kick. For me, it was outside the area. But understanding it didn't fulfil criteria for Dogso. But if it had, right, what we have to highlight is the fact that a holding offence, either outside the area or inside the area, if a denial has taken place, would in fact be a red card. That's the only thing to come out of it. The incident wasn't, but for clarification in the future, for the spectators that listen into this programme and referees, a holding offence inside the penalty area where denial has taken place is still a red card.
Are you confused, Chris?
I was confused. I'm not so confused now. Now Keith's cleared it up. I thought, I thought Keith summed that up perfectly. Had Mark Clattenburg seen it, I'm sure he would have given a red card, but he didn't see it. Needed help from the assistant. He got wrong side, didn't he? Firmino and Van Dijk a little. He wasn't holding his shirt for very long. It was, you could say quite cute defending in the end because he got away with it, but should have been off.
It's giving referees an awful lot to think about in a split second, which it could take us the whole of the rest of the show to debate and discuss here. One split second for them.
Again, let's not move away from the fact that Clattenburg delivers week in, week out. He's a referee that's in top form, he's consistent, and he's the first name that should be on the sheet, followed by Dean. Atkinson, again, another quality performance this weekend. They're the guys that are giving the foundation to the refereeing structure. And I can't understand why the younger guys in that squad or some of the other referees are not watching their performances and saying, this is what I've got to achieve. I've got to achieve this level.
Question of confidence in referees now. Martin Atkinson, a refresher. We can deal with that quite quickly. Everton 1, Swansea 1. He's had a difficult time lately. Come through that one absolutely fine. Talk about John Moss as well. Middlesbrough 0, Chelsea 1. Some technical points were picked up on ref cam there. Was Ramirez lucky not to receive a second yellow? Was there enough protection of Hazard? But it was good to maybe see John Moss, who's been criticised a lot. I don't know your view, Chris, of him. He came through that one okay.
Yeah, I think he did okay in the game. I think he got most things right. So it's hard to be overly critical of him.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I watched the game. There was no question that Middlesbrough were out to stop Hazard. Right. And if a referee's not aware of that, it's all part of the preparation. Yeah. Know the teams, know the players, understand the tactics within the game and what might be taking place. And I think that John should have picked up on the fact that, this was pretty early on in the game and it was pretty consistent. Every time we got the ball, Hazard was fouled. So I think either it need a stop at that point, captain over and saying, look, I understand what the tactics are here, now cut it out. Because the next time it's going to be a yellow card.
But that would be persistent fouling.
Yes, absolutely.
But Middlesbrough are quite within their rights. As football players, that's what you do. If somebody's dangerous, then you don't let him get this head up or get any time on the ball. Stop him at source legally, if possible.
And they can do it on a rotational basis, so it's not the same guy.
And you'd have to say that's quite smart.
Right, okay, that's one alternative view on it. It's great to get
That's why referees have to be aware of those tactics. Stoke
0, Bournemouth 1. This was a big talking point. Obvious penalty to Bournemouth, not given. An incredible one, really. Shawcross took out Wilson.
Are we ever going to see a worse decision this season? I very much doubt it. It was an absolute shocker. Everybody in the ground knew, everybody watching it knew. I really just don't know what he saw. I don't. Did he blink?
Maybe he did. I don't know. How do you explain it, Keith? And how do we get this referee over what appears to be a crisis of confidence? Because he's had a few high-profile ones this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy, Roger East. But then, again, you can be nice guys. The expectation is you perform. This was, without doubt, the worst decision I've seen for a long time. This was an easy decision. I think my grandsons would have given it comfortably. And therefore, you have to go back and say, look, let's have a look at the overall performance. He's lacking confidence. His second half penalty was a penalty, by the way. Yeah. So I don't have any issues with that one. Right. But if we take this individual, I think it's his 5th game in the Premier League this season, when we've had 11 sets of appointments. So he's down the pecking order, which is almost saying, from a PGMO point of view, you're not doing so well. So that's the first thing that's biting away at him. And he's looking at the fixtures, and I'm not out again. And therefore, it's a little bit like the player who is injured that's coming back, or the player who's not getting selected for the first team. And you come in, you're either enthused by that and you take that opportunity. He's failed to take an opportunity here.
What would you do, Chris? Would you drop him from the Premier League?
I think he is muddled at the moment, and I think that is a problem. If he's unsure and he's hesitant, it was incredible that such a challenge didn't warrant the penalty. He clearly cleaned him out, and if you can't give them, then you've got a problem. Maybe have a break for a while, clear his head, referee at a lower level, and work his way back up.
As a player, you'd expect to be dropped if you underperformed consistently.
For a couple of months.
For a couple of months.
Well,
I don't recall it happening to you.
The view here is that, fine, he's a professional referee, expectations are high. Yeah. I have no doubts that he needs to be dropped and taken away from it completely. When the old point of managing people who are participating is, I put in a support mechanism, a sports psychologist, vision scientist, sports scientist. There are enough people within the group to help.
I'm sorry to move it on, because we've got loads more to get through. But thanks, Keith. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 2. When referees get a brief mention, Bobby Madley, it's always good news. Watford 2, Leicester 1, Neil Swarbrick. Again, I think you saluted his performance, but a penalty kick to Leicester. Jamie Vardy, Chris, appeared to place it just ahead of the penalty spot.
Good for him.
Just gained a little advantage there.
Referee sleeping on the job.
Right.
It needed to come back. But one point in that game, I would not be surprised. We didn't see on television, but I was getting text last night about the fact that there was a deliberate elbow off the ball, so we wait and see the outcome, whether the FA pick up on that today. So that might come as a bit of a surprise in that particular game.
Okay, I must have been totally unaware of that.
I was until, I've not seen the incident, but I understand it was pretty deliberate.
We'll look out for it. I don't know if anybody saw Southend 3, Bradford City 0 on the highlights. The first Southend goal, Andy Woolmer was the referee, was the most blatant handball you could ever see in your life. And it just slipped by, and Southend scored. You ruled on yesterday on Twitter that Newcastle 2, Leeds 0 at Elland Road, by the way. Leeds denied a penalty shout for handball. You were clear it was accidental. So that clears that one up. But let's just quickly go to Birmingham 1, Bristol City 0. Tony Harrington was the referee there. Now, he sent off Jonathan Spector late on for a really bad lunging challenge. Immediately showed the red. Had he played on, it was 3 against 2 for Bristol City, chasing an equaliser. Now, if you'd have been a Bristol City player or manager there, it pulled straight back for the red card, what would you have thought?
I think as a player you'd be disappointed because you're in a strong position where you can make the most of a good opportunity, and you'll always get players teams in the ascendancy at that particular time who would want the advantage. But then if that happened, the advantage was played. As a former player, you then want him sent off anyway. So players want it and managers want it, always, don't they? Which is just the way it is. So I think it's probably a bit harsh. I'm not aware of the minute he was sent off, and it
was late on.
It was late
Bristol
on.
City were chasing an equaliser.
So I mean, it's
And they're on
I think you'd take you'd prefer the advantage, and if given the choice, you'd rather have the advantage than the sending off if it was late on in that situation. Different if it was early on in the game.
Could you not have both? Could you not played it on and come back and sent him off?
The advice to referees in that situation is that be very wary about playing an advantage on a red card, because you might have a mass confrontation. But if the ball is going to go in the back of the net, delay the whistle, which is effectively playing the advantage, and then go back and red card.
There's a situation in Scotland this year, Ross County Celtic, where there was a last man brought down. Scott Sinclair went through, should have scored, one-on-one, missed, and the centre half for Ross County was yellow carded when you know, normal situation would have been red, last man.
As ever, we'd love to have a lot more time to discuss these, but also as ever, me as a poor timekeeper has failed to add on sufficient stoppage time. So we'll have to leave it there, gents. Thanks to Chris Sutton, thanks to Keith Hackett, thank you to you, and hope to see you next week again. Bye now, bye.